Thank you. Let me start off by extending my greetings to the ministers who are here with us. Minister of International Relations, Dr. Naledi Pandor, Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Aaron Mutsaleri, Minister of Health, Dr. Zwelini Mkhize, and let me also extend my greetings to the Premier of our province, Ntate Chupu Matabata, as well as our mayors who are here with us, as well as the officers of our South African National Defence Force, as well as the captain of the SAA who flew you back home, and officials in our various departments, and all of you ladies and gentlemen. Am I happy to see you alive and healthy? I have spent sleepless nights over you, and so I am happy to see you healthy and alive, and most importantly, beautiful that you are. And also representing the true demographic spread of our country, and in the splendor of the diversity that I see here amongst you, representing the true South Africa that we are. We're delighted that you are back home, but we are also delighted that you are coronavirus free. As we took the decision, and for us it was not a difficult decision, it was quite an easy decision to bring you back home. We decided, as the lockdown in Wuhan was taking effect, that we wanted to bring our compatriots back home. And we spoke to the Chinese government, and they were a bit concerned. They were saying, no, why now? Let them continue staying here. We're looking after them. And we said, we want our own back home in South Africa. And we insisted that you should be brought home. And that is why we then came up with this Operation Evacuate, to bring you back home. And we are delighted that it was so well executed by our South African National Defence Force, by the Department of Health, Department of International Relations, Department of Home Affairs, and yes, Department of Transport, or Department of Public Enterprises, in terms of laying out our plane that went to fetch you. And so all the people who participated in this mission executed it extremely well, without any fault whatsoever. And we give our gratitude to all those people, the cabin crew, the captains, the military officers, the health officers, and Home Affairs officers, DERCO officers. Let's give them a round of applause for the extremely wonderful work they did. And we also have to thank the government of Limpopo, because as we were looking for a place to bring you to, we looked for more than 84 places around the country, from the Free State to KZN, all over. We were looking for a place that was suitable, where you would be quarantined for 21 days as we initially conceptualized, and our staff had to go all over, literally visit every place. And in the end, the most suitable place was the ranch here in Limpopo. And it was then that we contacted our government, and initially there were concerns because the consultation process had taken too long to ensue, and the concerns whittled away when we finally said we are bringing back home healthy people. They are not carriers of the coronavirus, even as they are coming from the epicenter of the virus. And with that, the concerns that they may have had whittled away, and it finally led to the beautiful embrace that you experienced when you landed here. The embrace that enveloped you when you landed was led by our Premier, and I'd like to thank him as well as the members of the Executive Councils, our MECs and various leaders, for having embraced you and for having welcomed you not only to Polokwane but to Limpopo as a whole. Let's give them a round of applause and thank them. It was not an easy task because misinformation had gone through the country, and a number of places said, oh no, please don't bring them to us, don't bring them to us. But when we explained that none of you were carriers, those tempers lowered down, and our Premier led the charge in saying, we welcome them, and in the end, we are very pleased in the way that you were welcomed. I watched it on television, and I had tears in my eyes as I saw you descending from the plane, disembarking rather, getting into your buses, and the people of Polokwane lining up the streets and welcoming you. It was like welcoming home people who had long been lost for a long time, and it was wonderful, it was moving. So we thank them for that. But I also want to extend my gratitude to you, to all of you, each one individually. And thank you for the very wonderful sentiments, including the letter that was read by my little sister here from Libode. We are truly grateful. You are a true representation of what being South African is all about. You have experienced the compassion that our government has towards its citizens. You have touched that compassion that our government feels. We spared no cost. To us, cost was not an issue. To us, effort was not an issue. To us, the logistical challenges were not an issue. The main issue was to bring you back home. And we are delighted that you came back home, but we thank you for being so receptive to what the government laid out. But we also want to thank you for being disciplined. You were also disciplined to accept to be quarantined for the full 14 days. Yes, I accept that you were quarantined for 51 days, but to be quarantined for an additional 14 days must have been quite something that is burdensome. So I thank you. And I haven't heard of any fights that any of you had. And if you did, they all stay here in the ranch. They don't go out of the ranch. I am particularly happy to hear that you became a family. You became the ranch family from Wuhan, and I am particularly pleased about that you got to know one another, but we should also be grateful to all those who've been supporting you. Firstly, to your families. I say thank you to your families for being understanding, for having been patient enough that once you have arrived home, you are taking time, 2 weeks to go back to your families and your households. I say thank you to them. And I'd like you to give your parents, your families a round of applause and thank them as well. we will soon be going to meet the staff of the ranch. And I think all of you are full of praise for the staff of the ranch. Give them a round of applause. We have to thank the staff of the ranch because they, more than anyone else, were prepared to make a sacrifice. They, more than anyone else, were prepared to take a risk. They were prepared to volunteer, to do something that ordinary people would never really do, to go and be of service to people who they may have thought had some virus or whatever, and they said they are prepared to come and serve you and to be amongst you. They are also the true heroes of all this. And so we thank them and must thank them. Now, I want to end by saying, if we ever had evangelists of a lockdown, you are our best evangelists. You are our best evangelists. We are now in day 3 of a 21-day lockdown. I am sorry you are going into another lockdown. So for you it's been 51 days and then 14 days. I'm sorry, another 18 days. I am sorry, but you are the best campaigners for a lockdown. Because you, more than anyone else, has seen that a lockdown does work. A lockdown does work. And I'd like you to spread the message to South Africans. I am going to be talking about you tonight. I am going to be thanking you, but telling the nation about you and saying you are the true evidence bearers of what a lockdown can do. Because Wuhan was able to reduce the level of infections because they had a lockdown. And China, which was number 1 in terms of infections in the world, as Minister Mkhize has been telling me, has now receded back. Countries like the United States and Italy have gone far above. And it is because of a lockdown. So a lockdown and social distancing does work. And I'm happy to see that even your seats are a meter away each. That's wonderful. So you are well schooled. And in fact, each one of you can have a master's degree or a PhD in what a lockdown is all about. So as you go back home tomorrow, to your various provinces, to your various communities, to your various families, we would like you to spread the word that you were able to be coronavirus free in China because you were locked down. And you continue to be coronavirus free because you locked down, and now you are in another lockdown because this is a most dangerous virus. And unless we are disciplined like you have been, we will be consumed by this virus. So this is a serious message. Many of our people in South Africa are abiding by the lockdown regulations, but there are still some pockets here and there who are still carrying on as though the virus does not exist. So I want you to go and spread the word and tell our compatriots that yes, coronavirus is a reality and we must look after ourselves. We must continue having that social distancing. We must continue washing our hands, disinfecting our hands, and making sure that the places where we live are hygienic. So I send you off back to your families. I send you off back to your communities, knowing that you are coronavirus free. You do not have coronavirus. and we are happy about that. And thank you very much for being who you are. Welcome back home. We embrace you, and we thank you for coming back home. Thank you very much.